Hey everyone, it's Leslie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have 5 cutting board projects. These guys have been sitting in my stash for quite a while. It's time to do something with them. 3 of these cutting boards I know I thrifted at Goodwill, various places. I pick them up when I see them. This cutting board right here, I cut on my bandsaw. I had purchased this wood to make specifically for cutting boards. So most of these are thrifted. The one little pumpkin cutting board, I believe I purchased this one at Hobby Lobby. I'm sure it was probably like 40% off. For my first cutting board, I'm going to be using the IOD paint inlays from the book Portofino. I pick out what I want to put on the board and I get them cut out and ready to go. I'll be using my Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster as my base coat. Of course, this cutting board, I sanded it and cleaned it real well. So we're working with raw wood here. So I'm going to use a little bit of water to kind of help move that paint around. And it just really soaked into this wood. So I'll be using probably 2 coats. And as I'm going along here, I'm going to get 3 of these base coated so they have time to dry and get ready for their transfers or their inlays. Those 2 I set aside to dry. Now I'm going to be taking my Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color Proper. And I'm just going to do 1 scoop and 1 scoop of water. Mix this up, set it aside for about 10 minutes so it'll thicken up. I bought several of the Sweet Pickins, the sample size, in different colors that I wasn't really used to. And those are perfect to try colors and see if you even like them. And then you can buy the larger packages. This color Proper is absolutely gorgeous, and I will be using more of it in the future. So after I got the first coat dry, I'm applying the second coat, and I'm giving it quite a bit because I do want some crackle. I'll be using my heat gun to help force that dry and force some crackle. Now that the first coat is dry, I'm going to give it its second coat, and I'm going to be applying the paint inlay into the wet paint. First, I want to mist my inlay on the paint side, and now I'm going to set it and get it put into position. You do have a little bit of time to adjust it and move it how you need to. And then once I have it in place, I'm going to mist it and make sure it's laying in the paint good. Here I'm taking my palette knife and I'm just peeling up part of the paper there out of the way so my center inlay is fully exposed to the paint. I just take a napkin and dab off the excess water. Because it's such a large area, I took my brayer and went over it to make sure that it was down in the paint really well. I'm going to set this aside and let it dry on its own while I work on the next the little apple-shaped cutting board. I chose this paint inlay, I believe it's from Floriography, if I'm saying that right. But I chose this little paint inlay, so I'm getting it set in place. And as you can see, you have a little bit of time to work with it and get it set in place. For some reason, I kept laying it down crooked. Once I was happy with the placement, I'm going to mist it again with some water and dab it and make sure it's down in the paint really well. And then I'm going to set this aside to dry too. I had walked away for a couple of hours and let these dry really well. Now I'm going to give it a mist, let it sit for a minute, and then start peeling back and reveal the paint inlay. I think it turned out beautiful. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. Now I'm going to take a little piece of sandpaper and I'm going to kind of sand and rough up the transition between the two inlays so it looks a little bit smoother. Next, I'm going to be taking my Minwax polyacrylic, it's a water-based sealer, and I'm going to seal in all the transfers. I set that aside to dry real well. Now it's time to remove the inlay on the apple cutting board. This turned out so good. I love working with these paint inlays. They're not hard at all. Don't be scared of them. Just give it a try. Like most anything, the more you work with it, the better you get at it. At first, I was terrified of these things, but now I absolutely love them. I mean, look at that. It is so pretty. The detail, it's just amazing to me how this works. Now I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper and rough up the edges. And then I'm going to take my polyacrylic and I'm going to seal in my paint inlay. Now I'm going to be choosing some gilded transfers from the book Etiquettes by IOD. I'm going to pick out some pieces and I know I'm going to have to cut these apart and just, what you can do with these inlays, you adapt them to your project. So I'm going to cut these apart and fit them onto my project. I don't know what I did, but I thought I turned my camera on and I didn't. So I didn't catch putting down the transfers. But that's okay. I guess most of y'all already know how to do that. So now I'm going to be taking DIY, my dark wax, and I'm going to seal in this paint inlay. And I will also be using DIY in the clear wax as an eraser to kind of lighten it up a little bit. For the cutting board side, I'm taking a mineral oil. It's a food safe, food grade oil, and that wood just soaked it up and it looked beautiful. So here is the finished cutting board. Now I'm going to be taking my gilded transfers from the same IOD book, Etiquettes. I just love how these beautiful gilded transfers, they just add a little touch of French country elegance to your projects. I love these. The good thing about these is you can just go absolutely crazy with them and just really do them up big time, or you can just make subtle little gold accents, and either way, it's just perfect. Once I was happy with the way those turned out, now I'm going to be taking my DIY in clear wax and some dark wax, and I'm going to seal in these transfers, and this project will be complete. The final touch is adding the food grade mineral oil to the back. Look how it just brings out the wood grain. It just freshens it up. That way, if someone wants to use the backside as a real cutting board, charcuterie board, that's food safe. Okay, I have to say this cutting board is probably my favorite. I got perfect crackle with the Sweet Pickins milk paint, so I'm going to seal it in with my polyacrylic water-based sealer. I'm going to be taking a transfer. It's from IOD Winter Botanist, and I'm going to be cutting this apart so I can kind of spread it out and make it fit to my cutting board. This transfer is absolutely beautiful. I have a tendency to want to hang on to my favorite transfers, paint inlays, and not do anything with them because it's like I don't want to lose them. And I don't know, am I the only one that does that? So anyway, let's get these transfers put down. Now let's take some clear wax by DIY and dark wax, and let's give this board a vintage look. I put down the clear wax first because I didn't want this to be too dark. The dark wax settles in just perfectly into the milk paint cracks. It was absolutely beautiful. I think this Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color Proper and this IOD transfer, they were a perfect match. I just love the way these look together. The crackle really shows up with the dark wax. Next, I added a leather strap and a beautiful green velvet ribbon. This project is now complete. The next two cutting board projects, I'll be using stamps, and I will be taking watercolors and mixing my own colors and hand painting the stamps. First thing I'm going to do is take my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster and give this cutting board 2 good coats. Actually, it took almost 3 coats. This wood, after sanding and cleaning, it was really soaking up the paint. The stamps I'll be using on this cutting board: Countryside Memoirs, Apothecary Labels, and this IOD transfer called Sprigs. I've never used this. I've had it for one of the first stamps I ever bought, and I've never used it. I don't know why. I absolutely love it, love it. I will be using this more. So here I'll be taking my stamps and deciding how I want them laid out. This stamp from Countryside Memoirs is so detailed. Absolutely beautiful. I want it to be like a little crest in the corner, and I want to stamp the word herbs. I'll be placing the mask on top of this because I will want sprigs and to add stuff coming out from behind it. I want to add here that this stamp Sprigs from IOD, this was before they ever started doing masks. So to make the sprigs look fuller or to add to it, I just had to play with the stamps and the ink and work around that and try to make them look a little bit fuller just to add to it till I was happy with the look. So I'm just going to play some music and you can watch as I design the sprigs to my liking. Now I'm going to be taking my watercolors and I'm going to paint all the stamps and sprigs and give it a unique look. So here again, I'll just play some music and let you watch. Once my watercolors were dry, I'm going to take it outside and give it 2 coats of Mod Podge spray sealer. If you try to brush on anything, it will reactivate the watercolors and it will smear, so you have to spray it. Now I'm applying Pentart Classic Crackle, components 1 and 2. So between the 2 components, you have to let that first component completely dry. I use kind of a crosshatch motion, so there's no just certain up or down or sideways brush strokes. I want it just to look random. Then once that is all dry, I'm going to go in with my Paint Couture in the color Van Dyke Brown. And then once again, on the back of the cutting board, I'll be using food grade mineral oil and give it a good soaking. That way, if someone wants to, they can use it as an actual working cutting board. That is the end of that project, and I think it turned out beautiful. It was so much fun. My first love is oil paintings, so being able to paint these stamps with watercolors, it was just so much fun. I will definitely do that again. Now for my last project, I'll be taking this pumpkin cutting board. I believe I got this one at Hobby Lobby when they were having 40% off last year. So I've had this and it's just been in my stash. Once again, I forgot to turn the camera on. I don't know where my head was that day. But I got the pumpkin all stamped, and now I'm going to take my watercolors and I'm going to paint these stamps. And once again, when the watercolor was dry, I took it outside and gave it 2 coats of Mod Podge spray sealer. Now I'm going to be taking my paint couture in the color. This is the light brown color, and I didn't want this to be too dark. I believe this color is called light brown sugar. The back of this cutting board was already finished, so I didn't have to do anything else to it. Once I got it wiped down, this project was complete. I love the way this turned out. Painting these stamps was so much fun. It makes me want to get out my oil paints and go back to canvas painting. Once again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. If you like these projects, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. I welcome you and I appreciate each and every one of you.